it's Elise here at Bowman Library in the Children's Room with another middle grade book spotlight. So our theme for this week is all about books that have some sort of animal character feature in it. And I will promise you this, I don't like reading animal books because something horrible always happens to the animal, but the books that I'm going to tell you today, I promise, are like sadness-free animal book zones, okay? So you can read them without having to worry if something horrible is going to happen to the animal at the end that's going to like rip your heart out. So we have 6 titles we're going to talk about today that all feature some animals, so let's get started. Our first one is Flora and Ulysses by Kate DiCamillo. So Flora has a lot going on in her life. Her parents are just divorcing, and she starts finding some comfort in reading these comic books that have superheroes in them. But her mother doesn't want her reading these because her mother doesn't think they're like real books. So when a squirrel gets sucked into the neighborhood's vacuum cleaner and Flora dives in, rescues the squirrel, brings him back to life, and then they find out that the squirrel has somehow gained superpowers. The squirrel can write poetry and he can fly. So Flora decides this is the perfect pet. She names him Ulysses after the vacuum cleaner, and they start to bond, and Flora starts to find herself opening up her heart again. But her mother does not approve of a squirrel as a pet living inside their house, and she's going to do anything she can to get Ulysses out of the house. So it's going to be up to Flora to save him. You will find yourself cheering for Flora and Ulysses as they want to make sure nothing happens to them, and like anyone else who's had a pet, you will love Ulysses just as much as Flora does. Flora and Ulysses. So Sanity and Tallulah by Molly Brooks. So Sanity and Tallulah are best friends living in outer space on a space station called Wilnick. They are known for getting into trouble, and one day Sanity sneaks into the lab and creates a 3-headed kitten that they name Princess Sparkle, Destroyer of the World. The problem is, Sanity snuck into this lab, and she's not supposed to be there, especially doing science experiments, and she could get into major trouble for doing this. So Tallulah, her best friend, decides she's going to help her get out of this mess, and they're going to try to cover everything up. The plan kind of goes off crazy, though, when Princess Sparkles, Destroyer of the World, decides she doesn't want to be hidden, and she takes off, and they need to go find her somewhere in this space station. But then crazy things start to happen, and things start getting worse and worse, and Sanity and Tallulah discover that there was something more going on in their home than they ever thought possible. This amazing, hilarious graphic novel will have you cheering for Princess Sparkles, Destroyer of the World, as she tries to hide on this crazy space station. So, for word lovers out there, this is Rain, Rain by Anne Martin. So Rose is different from everyone else in her family and her class. She has Asperger's, which makes her see the world differently from other people. She loves homophones, also known as hominins, prime numbers, patterns, and routines. Living with her dad, one day, he brings home a dog that he found in the rain, and Rose decides that she's going to name the dog Rain, because that's what the dog was found in. One evening in the middle of another storm, Rain accidentally gets out and is nowhere to be found. So Rose decides she needs to go outside and she needs to find her dog. This, though, means leaving everything that Rose knows as safety and her routines, and you will follow her on this journey of trying to find Rain and conquer her fears, all in trying to find her beloved dog. Rain, Rain. Pie by Sarah Weeks. It's the 1950s in Pennsylvania, and Polly Portman is a pie master. She knows everyone's favorite pies in the town and does an amazing job making them. She has all of her recipes written down except her famous pie crust that she only keeps in her head. One day she unexpectedly dies, though, and when her will is read, everyone finds out that she has left her pie crust recipe to her cat, who is this grumpy fat creature she named Lardo. And Lardo has been left to Polly's niece Alice. So it's Alice's job to take care of Lardo and somehow this pie recipe. Soon after all of this is found out, the bakery is broken into and Lardo is catnapped. And someone is after the famous pie recipe. And it's up to Alice and her friends to find Lardo and get to the bottom of this mystery and to make sure the pie crust recipe stays a secret. If you like your books with a sense of humor and a touch of dessert, this one is for you. Pie. Here's a classic. Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim by Robert O'Brien. So Mrs. Frisby is a field mouse who has 4 children, but when they have to move in order to survive, because it's where they're living, it's gonna be turned into a farm area, and that's not gonna be good for them, her youngest named Timothy is dreadfully sick and she doesn't know what to do. So Mrs. Frisby is pointed in the direction of a group of rats that are living nearby, and she soon finds out that they're not just your normal everyday rats, but they are ones that have acquired human skills and technology. They agree to help her after hearing her story, but that's when things start to get a little bit complicated. If you like a good adventure story with moments of suspense, with some emotions built in between, you'll be turning the pages of this as fast as you can when you start reading Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim. And our last one for this week is The True Blue Scouts of Sugarman Swamp by Kathy Ablett. So there's a swamp in Texas called the Sugarman Swamp, and it is filled with a wide variety of animals from gators to hogs and snakes. 2 raccoon brothers named Bingo and Jemiah are scouts for the swamp, with their job being to alarm for any other animals if danger is coming. The only real issues they have ever had to deal with are the occasional wild pig or others trying to destroy sugarcane that's growing in the swamp. But there is danger coming they could never have imagined when a human named Sonny Boy Buku wants to take over the swamp to build the Gator World Wrestling Arena, and it is going to ruin everything. The Raccoon Brothers decide they need to do something to protect their swamp and everything and everyone that they love. Told through points of view from both animals and humans, you will find yourself cheering for the Raccoon Brothers in the swamp to be saved from destruction. True Blue Scouts of Sugarman Swamp. So again, these are just 6 of the animal books that we have here at Bowman Library in the children's section. And again, I promise you, all of these books turn out okay. I promise. You have my word on that. I hope you turn back next week for another middle grade book spotlight with a completely different theme, and I hope you have a great week.